All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on this beautiful planet. Welcome to the Inner Circle Live pre-New York session. I'm your host for this morning's session, Benny Allen, and I'm definitely happy and grateful for each and every one of you being here with us this morning as we take a look at the technicals and the fundamentals to see what we could take advantage of in the Forex market as we close out another awesome week. So, without further ado, let's make sure that we turn off any and all distractions, grab a pen and paper, and take lots of notes. And as always, let's make sure that we participate and engage. If everybody is ready to go, you're all set on this awesome Friday. Drop me a one in the chat. Let me know that we are ready to go. I see the good mornings coming in. Kay, I see the one. I appreciate it. So I know I have no technical issues. And each and every day, we are ready to take massive action and attack these markets, right? So we want to make sure that we are accepting all possible losses before entering a trade, preparing you for any outcome. We want to center ourselves in body, mind, and spirit, ensuring a balanced approach to trading. Let's trust in our education, strategy, trading skills, and intuition. And let's imagine our trades successfully materializing, right? We know that that takes patience, right? We want to imagine that those trades are successfully going to take place, and we want to be patient and wait for that to happen. Let's obey our trading strategy, avoiding decisions based on greed or fear. And let's make sure that we are never looking back or stopping once our trade has commenced, right? Because we figure it out, right? We win the war before it starts. We figure out our risk. We calculate it. We figure out where we want to get out if things don't go our way, where we want to get in to the position, right? And so we want to make sure that we don't look back once we let that trade take off, right? We want to let it do its thing, okay? Because we ultimately don't control the market, right? Now, let's get out of this and move over and take a look at what we have going on the Forex Factory today. So on this beautiful, amazing June 28th, we have at 8:30, we've got Canadian data, right? GDP month over month. That's always important. That's one of the key fundamental factors that we follow is GDP for each country, right? Expected to come in at 0.3%. So we'll see if that comes in right at forecast above or below. And then we've got in the United States, the core PCE data, right? That is going to come out. So that is important, right? So if we click on our folder here, the PCE, it differs from the CPI, core CPI, in that it only measures goods and services targeted towards and consumed by individuals, right? It's the consumers that makes the economy go, right? So this is very important. Prices are weighted according to total expenditure per item, which gives important insights into consumer spending behavior. CPI is released about 10 days earlier and tends to garner most of the attention. Okay. It's the Federal Reserve's primary inflation measure. Okay. So this is going to be important today. Expected to come in at 0.1%. So once that report comes out, we'll start tearing into the details and see exactly what's going to happen. So we could have some volatility right at 8:30 this morning. So we want to be aware of that. Other than that, right, we've got the revised University of Michigan consumer sentiment and U of M inflation expectations. So we could see again some volatility as we start today, right at 8:30. Welcome to everybody that joined us. Let me make sure that everybody has, control over their microphone. All right. And I think we are good to go there. Okay. So let's dive in, take a look at the DXY, right? So we come over to trading economics. We'll go to Forex. We will take a look at this DXY. So the dollar index rose above 106 on Friday and was set to advance for fourth straight week in the lead up to the U.S. PCE inflation data, while markets deemed former President Donald Trump ahead in the U.S. presidential debate. The index is also on track to gain more than 1% in June and over 4% for the first half of 2024. So we've been seeing a strong dollar, right? A stronger than expected inflation reading will likely embolden the Fed to keep policy restrictive, as it took a more cautious approach to interest rate cuts than other major central banks, as we are starting to see central banks cut rates, right? At least some of them. One Fed official also indicated willingness to hike rates again should progress on inflation stall or even reverse. Meanwhile, the dollar came under pressure Thursday after data showed that continuing claims rose to 2021 highs, suggesting a cool down in the labor market. GDP growth, however, was revised slightly higher to 1.4% from 1.3% in the second estimate. All right, so that's where we are on the dollar. And if we move over to the DXY, right, we'll see that we tapped out at that 106, right? And we put in a bit of a double top, but then we're moving down ahead of that PCE data. So hit that 106 level, and then we've come down. So we'll see what happens once that data is released. If we're going to get continuation down and a retest to that 105.65 level, or if we're going to make that U-turn and create, right, a higher low and then continue. So we shall see. Overall on the weekly, we can see here, right, that price is still in that swing, that C to D push, and it just kind of technically we see what we just read fundamentally with the dollar, that it has been a pretty strong 2024 thus far. Okay. Any questions on the DXY? Again, we've got news at 8:30. Nope. All right. So we are good to go there. Inflation softens in France and Spain. Okay, let's talk about that the Eurozone there. Again, we're coming out of the ECB meeting where they cut rates. They were going to remain data dependent moving forward in regards to any decisions on further rate cuts. So for the Eurozone, so we've got inflation softening in France and Spain. UK GDP growth revised higher, like it did here in the United States. It's good. The yen hits fresh 38-year low. So we'll continue to watch that. So the intervention watch is still on. Eurozone inflation expectations fall further. Okay. German jobless rates edges up 3-year high, right? So Germany, largest player in the Eurozone. And then we see here European stocks rebound, but book losses for the month. So far since the ECB meeting, where they cut rates by 25 basis points, the fundamental data, has not been favorable, right, for the euro. Okay, so we'll look to see if we get further declines in the euro against most of your major pairs. All right, so that's that. Any questions over any of the fundamentals that we covered? No? All right.
No.
All right. So one thing I'm doing on the back end, doing the research on, and Ryan and I are discussing back and forth, is I am checking out a couple different softwares around fundamentals that can kind of pull it all in, right? To make it all make sense, kind of like a snapshot. Just how we can kind of look at a technical chart and get a snapshot of what's going on in the market technically, in regards to price action, kind of a software that'll give us the snapshot on fundamentals, pulling everything in and saying, okay, this is the overall picture for this particular currency or currency pair to hopefully, make things fundamentally a little bit, more easy to understand. Even though I feel like in this group, we're doing a pretty good job of grasping the fundamentals overall. So hopefully, once we get done with that research, that could help us out a bit. on that. All right, so it's Friday. I do have some things I want to cover, but I want to give you all the opportunity because I didn't get to do that yesterday to let me know if there's any pairs that you all want to take a look at um, as we get rocking and rolling this morning. So if any of you have pairs that you want to check out, do me a huge favor and drop them in the chat, and we'll start there this morning. Um, the Aussie NZD, yes. For sure. We got a strong Aussie right now, but the New Zealand dollar isn't as necessarily uh weak either, right? Enjoy the Euro and GBP and the Aussie. Just so Euro and GBP and the Aussie. So just those pairs, Joy, or like the Euro GBP?
I was trying to shorthand. I'm sorry. Euro, Aussie, and GBP Aussie.
Euro Aussie and GBP Aussie. Okay,
Yep.
Euro Aussie GBP. Yeah, that Euro Aussie. Oh, okay. We'll definitely take a look at that because I was looking at that this morning. All right. So let's start out with that Aussie NZD because I know it's bouncing around at that level. So let's take a look at it. Right. So overall, right, we're bullish. The Aussie is strong, right? So here we are in this swing. Doesn't seem like too long ago, right, that we pegged it at this level. See that? So overall, we're bullish. What we're trying to do here on this 4 hour is to play this correction, right? If you decided to participate in that trade setup, right? Some of you may not have the confirmation that you want yet, but we'll take a look at it. But yeah, so we came in, we drew this fib here, and we parked a low right at that H6, and it's been bullish ever since, everybody, right? Keeps breaking and retesting levels. So the question is here, right, is are we going to get this correction? So I'm watching closely at this 109 50 level. You can see we had a huge bullish candlestick here, right in our zone, but it got halted and it started to move sideways. So it's ranging a bit, right? So if we get a break and a close above that 109.50 level, then we could potentially just move to that extension, right? So if you're waiting on that, right, or if you're involved in that, right, that's what I'm looking for is that because that's a key daily level there. And we've gotten above, right, that 109.40 level is a monthly level. So um let's see what happens, right? It's still moving up. Do we close and get beyond that level? Right. So we shall see on that Aussie NZD. But overall, it's bullish, right? And if you're waiting on the buy setup in your sweet spot, we haven't gotten it on the 4. Right. So that's what we're waiting on. So it's a classic 80-20 that we're seeing if we can get a breakdown in price for it to move lower before continuing long. Right. So here we are, 1 hour. Okay, chart. And this is what we're looking at. So do we get above this level here at 109.50? That's what I'm looking for. Okay. So we're in an up retracement zone. Okay. An up retracement zone. So we're looking for a correction and then a continuation long on the Aussie. Any questions on that?
I like the M that's forming there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So let's see. Let's see what happens. I see that too. So it's been a bit back and forth. We know that Aussie is strong, but like I said, the New Zealand dollar, right, isn't super weak either. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens with that one. 51 pip stop. So we'll see how that goes. And that's that. Let me go back here. Moving in on the Euro Aussie. Okay. I am really this setup here. I really like this setup, right? With that data, I am looking for pullbacks and continuations down in the zone, right? So we've pushed down. Um, we've got a strong Aussie. We've got weaker data coming in for the Eurozone. We know that they just cut rates by 25 basis points. And the way it looks moving forward, we can see more cuts based on the data that we're seeing now coming out of the Eurozone. So I want to look for pullbacks and continuations down in the zone to remain bearish on the Euro Aussie. This is a 1 hour setup. So that's what I would like to see. Is I'm bearish on that one. Any questions on this Euro Aussie? Again, that's a 1 hour chart. Okay. All right. So that's moving right on down. What was the other one that Joy had? And the pound Aussie. Okay. So let's take a look at it from the daily, right? A lot of back and forth, but this latest impulse leg is down, right? And now you can see here coming into today, right, where we had some gains, but now look at that, right? So we'll see if that continues to push bearish, right? We got a stochastic in the buy zone. This has been a bit all over the place, this pound Aussie here, right? So right now, okay, we've got a stochastic in the sell zone. So we've got, some mixed data on the charts, but right now this is moving, right? We're trading what we're seeing. This is moving to the downside, right? And so we'll find out, right, if this ends up becoming a 4-hour high, but we are moving lower, okay? So we made gains. We rejected off that 191.09. So we didn't get that pullback all the way to the 382. We got close, but now this is moving down, right? So I have to say that this is going to be, at least in the short term, a continuation to the downside. The Aussie is just strong across the board. Across the board. So right now I'm going to say a bearish continuation to the downside on this. If we come in, we take a look at the data on the Australian dollar. They just had Reserve Bank of Australia Deputy Governor Andrew Hauser warned against setting policy on account of one hot inflation reading, saying the full second quarter inflation report due at the end of July would provide more clarity. But the fact remains that their CPI came through. And so when we look at, what the Aussie has done this week against most of your major currencies, right? As this report where you see it fell below 66, that's against the dollar, right? But overall, with that hot reading for CPI, that strengthened it overall against the other major currencies for the most part. Rangy against the dollar, but against the other major currencies, we see that is moving to the upside. Markets are betting on around 1/3 chance that the RBA would hike rates in August following the data, or pricing out any chance for an RBA rate cut this year. So that's mainly what I'm focused on. We start to look at interest rate differentials with the central banks, right? This is a central bank right now that we know at the least is not looking to cut rates, right? So you're starting to get the speculation about a possible rate hike. You're starting to hear those whispers with the dollar as well, right? I don't think we're quite there yet, but we know that we're not looking at a rate cut. Okay. So that's mainly what I'm focused on there, is that they're not cutting rates. So I'm looking for, right, to see if we could just continue that downside momentum right now. We may not get a high price on that. Right. So that's where we are on the pound Aussie. So that's where we are right now. Okay. Any questions on that pound Aussie?
Yeah, I was kind of confused last night because I was expecting the Aussie to be strong last night, and it kind of lost a weakness. So I seen that pullback on the euro to surprise me to see how the Aussie remained strong to this morning.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
was it like they wasn't even trading in a session last night?
Right, right. Okay, I get it. And then you might so oftentimes you have when you have you know like major US data coming up like that PCE, you may not get a ton of action, in the sessions leading up to it. So I mean, but it's good you noticed that last night, right? It was kind of quiet, so yeah, we'll see what happens. But oftentimes, Julie, that's what I've picked up over the years, that ahead of like some major data key report for the US, you won't get a ton of price action. So really good observation. uh Give me 1 second, everybody. All right. What does it mean that Joe Biden was muted? Presidential between Joe Biden. Uh, just really like no reaction. No, it didn't give us, it didn't give us anything, right? There was no no real fireworks, nothing that could impact the markets. Like it was just look, I don't know what that was. So last night, like uh he was in the lead and lost it. Yeah, it was I don't know. But it's all gonna come down to turnout, you know. Everybody's aware of his age, you know. Um so I don't know. One everybody's concerned about his age. The other one everybody's concerned about every other word that he says is a lie. So but it's we the people, right? We put ourselves in this position. Got to show up and turn out and vote for whoever you vote for, but at least show up. So nothing beats a dollar but a vote. But yeah. Um, so moving on, moving on. Let's see. Uh, Aussie NZD, Euro GBP. Yep. So let's look at this Euro GBP, which been a hot mess. This one was a stop out, the original markup, and then it ended up moving down like we thought. Uh, but you continue to get a bunch of back and forth. So I'll just go straight to the setup on this. Here's the setup that we had, right? It was a small stop at 30 pips. But you can see how it took out the A, stopped it out, moved down, moved back up. So who knows? A possible move bearish. That's still my my idea for it. But we'll see. Tara said that's politics. You have to pick the liar you believe in, right? I will say here in the United States, I really don't want to hear the complaining about either one, especially in regards to their age, because in way back in 2020, you had a selection of younger candidates and nobody turned out for them. So that's on us. I'm just not big on, when when you live in a democracy and you decide not to participate in your own rescue by doing something simple like getting up and going to vote, people don't do it, and then they complain. Right? That's a huge issue for me. Right? So I think I've been on the planet long enough to be able to say that. I think it's shameful. So, and then we end up where we are. So at the end of the day, it's what we choose. It's what we choose. You have to be an adult to participate, right? In voting. You have to be of an adult age, and we're all adults, and we're all personally accountable. So, and I don't care which way you lean, right? Like you said, you got to vote for the liar you believe in. So, the Euro GBP, that's where we are. That's where we are. Which one of them are stronger? I'm leaning towards the pound. I'm leaning towards the pound K. But this is definitely not is not my favorite pair to trade. It never has been. Really, but that setup did look good, especially since I'm leaning towards the pound. I just didn't get it. So it's just ranging right now. But I like that. I favor the pound right now, fundamentally over the euro. So we'll see if that eventually moves to the downside. But for this particular play, it didn't work out for me. Even though it did move lower afterwards, it's just range bound. Any questions? Oh, hold on. Okay, my bad. Let me make sure I get you access to your mic. Oh, I got a few people on here that joined us that I didn't do it. Okay, we're good. Okay, you have another question? Okay, cool. All right. What was the next pair that we wanted to look at? Uh,
I had
see.
put gold and US 30, Benny.
Gold and US 30?
Yes.
Okay. And that was after the Euro GBP. Okay, cool. So let's look at this US 30 trade. Where's my dial set up? Which one did you Kay, which one did you take on the 4?
The Aussie NZD.
The Aussie NZD on the 4 hour? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So that one's bouncing around. Sometimes, right, it's gotta make a decision. We got a strong Aussie, and like I said, the NZD it's not too weak either. And the reason why I say that is because, right, we know that the NZD, they're both commodity currencies. A lot of times that pair can get whipsawed around a bit. But when we come over, and the thing that I'm focused on now, so here, right? Domestically, the Reserve Bank of New Zealand is expected to maintain a stable policy until at least mid-2025 as upward risk to inflation remain. Nonetheless, investors have fully priced in a rate cut in November. The Kiwi has fallen by 1.3% this month, but is up 1.4% for the quarter. So I'm looking at like, okay, it corrected, but there's not a negative, any really real negative data for the Zen, especially when it comes to the possibility of a rate cut. They're pricing it in they said it's already fully priced in for November, and we haven't seen that much of a drop off with it being priced in. And the Reserve Bank of New Zealand is saying they're going to maintain a stable policy till at least mid-2025. So when we got other central banks starting to cut rates, so I'm not looking at that currency as super weak or anything like that. So that's why you're seeing it kind of is having that tussle right now at that key level. We'll see which one wins on that for sure. So because I'm also like that Aussie New Zealand. I'm also in that I do have a small position on that NZD Swissy, trying to see if we can get it to move long, but it's been a bit range bound. So we'll see what happens with that. So the US 30, oh, you're welcome. The US 30, right? Looks like it's trying to, from a daily right now, it's like it's trying to find some support. Now we got data at 8:30. All right, so that could be it could be a trick bag, but it's hanging around at 39,000, what's that, 39,092 level. So you can see here's a low. If we close out the day higher, right, that's going to be a zone that's reconfirmed, but we've got a stochastic that's in the sell zone. So we're a little bit mixed. I know down here on this 1 hour, we're trying to see if we can get that correction where this has been a beautiful move, right? That's a sizable move out of the zone. I know we're not at a 382 yet, right? But that's a pretty sizable move, a good gain there, right? And I believe that you played this to the downside, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm going to tell you is we want to watch this one closely. Like if you're in profit, imagine this trade, because we don't know which way that PCE data is going to go, right? So I don't know if you've taken anything off or managed to stop or how you're playing. You're just going to let it ride and play out. But, just always be aware of the news coming out that could impact it. But if we're overall bullish on this pair, we need it. We need it. We need a discount, right? We need it to move down, right? So my concern is how it's reacting at this zone, right? So decent move so far. You can see, even though it's moving higher right now, it's still right because we're just ahead of major data. You still see how it's kind of really just the candles are small. It's just bouncing around. That's because you don't have a ton of activity ahead of the data. Okay. So what I have to say at this point is 80-20, right? Nice to the downside, but we've got to be data dependent with this news at 8:30 on that in regards to what direction it may head. All right. So if it comes through, super hot, right? We may see that continue to push to the downside at a faster rate, right? Because that means the Fed's definitely not cutting rates if that data comes through hot. So that's where we are on that. Kind of is it, I really can't stand these type of moments because it's been moving so well, right? But it hasn't quite reached our destination, and we got major data coming up. So that one's always kind of a headache. So we'll see what happens. And we're holding up at that key support level. We're back above it. So we'll see what happens on that. And that's the best I can do for that one right now. Weird position that it's in.
Yeah, I was also looking at on the 1 hour, I think there was the break of structure. Maybe if it comes back there around 39,454
39,454.
in that zone.
39,454. Oh, okay.
Push into that zone and maybe push down, but we'll see.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So a little higher and then come back down. I get it. I get it. I get what you're thinking. So we'll see, because you do have a down AB boundary there, so like a higher pullback to retest. So maybe on that. It's bouncing around, but great work on the short, on playing that short coming out of the zone, right? So that's a good move for an industry. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping it comes through hot and then pushes it down because we need a low price anyway.
Yeah.
So, So you said you've been utilizing the auto trail stop. I'd like to have you do a training on that because I know you've played around with that before, right? In the past.
Yeah, yeah, I have been. But on my broker, they finally put it on there. On the new thing that they got because they're not on MT4 no more. And it's been kind of decent. What they have, I can put it at 1%. Now, since every time y'all
Oh,
starting to understand a little bit more as far as with the risk management. So I can set it at 1% or I can put it at a nominal value.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. So just letting it auto trail. I'm still I'm old school with the manual stopping the larger swings, but we definitely should have you, do a training on that for the group, on how to use that auto, you know, stop.
For sure.
Hmm? Yeah, 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 yeah. Because then you're really paying attention at that point, like with your average true range for your pairs. Like, because for example, like you're gonna set that auto stop, that auto trail wider for maybe a pound pair than you do like the Euro GBP, right?
And I meant to ask you far as the ATR because I had to reset my charts and I don't have the ATR set up. So what I was thinking and I wanted to try is like do it to where trailer at the ATR to see if for those bigger pairs if it give it a better range.
Hmm.
Because I've been stopping out a lot, to be honest. And on some it worked, on some pairs it's cool. But like those GPPs and like S&P and stuff like that, because they're so volatile with the candles, it's not like I haven't figured that out because I don't mess with those a lot no more.
Right. And so there's sites too where you can track ATRs. It's like constantly updating as well. You know what I mean? That you can go to. I'll find it because I used to look at them all the time to track the ATRs on the pair. So yeah, we'll get it. And then I'll get you the setup for the ATR as well. So we'll look at that. But yeah, I like that idea. For some folks, that's you got to put it on autopilot, especially since if you're super busy. And once that trade gets going, sometimes a auto stop, auto trailing stop will help a lot of people. So that'll be good to learn more about. What was I about to say here? So we went through S&P, and then what was the other one you had on that?
Go.
Gold. Okay. So yeah, definitely let's look at gold ahead of the PCE data. We are, you know, I still, even though it's ranging, right? Because this is pegged against the dollar. But I am still liking gold, to continue to move long overall, just like how we came into this year. And so just to recap, why we said it is because gold typically in a rate cutting environment performs well, right? So we came into 2024 thinking long on gold because of the forecast of central banks starting to cut rates, and they're doing just that. So um, right now, right, we're coming out the gate strong to start the day, but like I said, that could be a trick bag ahead of this major data. But it's bouncing around against the dollar. We know the dollar has been strong, right? But we are still within this AB boundary. We could continue to extend the zone as it's come down around those levels again, and we've gotten a reaction. So overall, right? Um, for the long-term swing picture, I would like to stay long on gold. And I mean, do we get above, right? We've got a 4-hour level here. That price is trying to push through at 23.37. And that PCE data coming at 8:30 should have an impact on that. Okay. It should have an impact on that. So let's see what happens. But right now we are moving to the upside. Right? And here on the 1 hour, I was tracking this trend line. Our trend line breaks awesome, right? Like if you're patient and you wait, like they can really, if you use that as a confirmation, right, you can really do well with honestly just support and resistance and trend line breaks, which is why we teach it, foundationally, right, in our course on how to draw those trend lines properly and how to draw support and resistance. Like you see, that's a clean break, right, to the upside. So let's see if we can push through that 23.36 zone, right? We've got a high back here too now that we come into the one, right? So we've got this zone here. that we'll watch. Okay. Okay. Makes sense. So we just let the market do what it's gonna do. And it's tough, right? Especially in your summer months, right? Because we know the volatility slows down a bit. But as we see that the market is still cycles through those ABCD waves just at a slower rate. And so the summertime really can test your patience. But this is where you really hone in your discipline. So when the markets really pick back up, right, you really got, your discipline and your psychology in order, right? For when those times do pick back up. But the summers can really, really test your patience. But you have to put that position in and let it just do its thing. Let us just do this thing. All right. You don't want to over leverage to where you become overwhelmed and you lose patience on the setup. All right. We know that that can just destroy your account. So continue to use proper risk management, continue to trade your sweet spots, right? And just let it go. Let it go. And I know it's hard, right? Now, you got some challenges when I'm speaking from experience because I've been there, right? When you when you say, well, I'm gonna go down to the lower time frame and I'm gonna trade a C to D, right? Or I'm gonna trade an 80-20. Now, if you do that and you still find yourself having a hard time letting that trade run, then you know you got some things psychologically that you got to take care of because you're on a 5-minute chart at that point, right? I don't know how much lower you're gonna go. Right. So that should tell you. I don't know. Has that ever happened to anybody? It's happened to me. It's happened to me. I'm like, knowing that it's an issue for, it's me, that's the issue. I'm like, oh, I know what I have to do. I just have to move down to a 5-minute chart. And then I'll definitely have enough patience for that. And then when I moved down to that 5-minute chart, I still didn't have enough patience, right? I was still getting out of trades before they hit their target. So there's no way to escape it, right? It's something that you have to it's something that you have to master. So that is where we are on goal, right? Right now pushing, right? We're at the key level. We've got a trend line break. We put in a low, right? We're moving bullish. So let's see what happens with the PCE data. Be patient. All right. That is gold. Reese wants to take a look at the pound dollar and the S&P 500. So let's take a look at the pound dollar. All right. So, right, pounds losing steam against the dollar, moving bearish. We got a correction, right? Price is moving back up. And right, we come down to the 1. You can see where we've got that down AB boundary running, and we've got a pullback, right? In reversal. So you can see we've got an impulse, then a correction to the upside. Okay. We got a correction to the upside. So if we come down to this 30 minute, right? So moving down, right? Continuously moving down. Now we're at this 126 level, but I expect for that to eventually continue to move bearish. We'll come down to the 15. Right. And right, move. Right. 15. There, we got this swing to the upside. Took that out. It's just bouncing back and forth, really, right? There. latest move. Latest move, long. Reese, talk to me. What do you have? What do you have on this for this pound dollar? You bullish on the dollar? Yeah. And I know in that you had put where were we? You had a why am I not seeing that credit? Because didn't you draw up a 15-minute 80/20 on the pound dollar? I think that was too right on the 15-minute chart. Do I have my fibs wrong on this? Did I not run these high enough? Or was that from a while ago? Bullish on it. Oh, it hit the D extension and then went up. Oh, okay. You were in that. Yeah, I thought I remember seeing you post that and go, okay, so it hit the extension. So yeah, overall this is a mess on the 15 because what it's doing right now, but overall still bearish, right? Overall look, but I will say, like, look at this level here and where we are. So I am definitely bearish, but I'm wondering, right? You see where we are here on the daily? I was looking at this morning, on with that PCE data looming for the US. I wonder if we'll get a further correction up before continuing down. But we're definitely making lower lows and lower highs on that. And then we've got a nice, right? So if you go back a couple days, you can see where we put in a nice bearish candle there. So you continue to see these huge bearish candles, right? Push price down every time the bulls come in, right? And so maybe we'll go back up and retest the high of the previous day. Don't know. Well, we've got us to cast it back, you know, uh, in the buy zone on the daily. But I'm definitely, um, bullish the dollar. So I agree with you on that one. Why stop loss? Is it must for you? Yeah. The discovery and right. So I'm a wide stop loss guy myself. Just for one, I don't have a time to really, you know, manage the setups with the tight stop losses, but just for my own psychology, um, I like to keep them wide, right? So give the market some room to breathe. Okay. So that's that on the pound dollar. Overall bearish. Right? Overall bearish. We'll see how big of a correction we get if we get one on the PC data. But you can see that was put in a nice pullback already, and it's just overall been moving lower. Okay, that's the 30.
I
All
looked at the
right.
1 hour, Benny, and I just got in on one of the flips to the downside. It did like a 61.8 retracement, and
Oh, okay. On one of the sub
yeah,
fibs.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then it pulled back again.
Mhm.
There's another one out here. What did I get involved with? Uh that was kind of similar. Uh can't remember which one it was. Was it the Euro Aussie? I had to find it, but it was kind of similar where it kind of doubled back like this and created a new high, and now it's continuing down. Like this is one of those ones like
I
if
think
you
it was the
use
Euro Sheffy.
it was the Euro Swissy. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll take a look at that. But I know it was one, I think it might have been a Euro Swissy. I know it was one of the Euro pairs that kind of had similar price action. But one of the things that, was beautiful about this game is that even if you get in on a secondary move like this, or maybe you're new and you had a just a entry that wasn't optimal, right? as long as you use proper risk management and just fundamentally you have your direction right, ultimately you'll move into profit, right? Think about it. I mean, even if you moved and you put in a trade here at this low, right? Because you said, oh, it broke 126.33 and now it's pulling back. Well, if you're not over leveraged and your risk management is where it should be, then ultimately when the downtrend continues, it'll put you in the profit. You just have to be patient. That's what I like about swing trading. You don't the way you manage your risk in swing trades, you don't have to be perfect, right? I just when I first came into trading, that seemed like that's what the popular thing was before I ultimately got some good education and learned how to swing trade. Like it seemed like trading was all about I have to have the perfect entry to the pip. And it's like, no, like that could be, some people do it and they're good at it. I think it's rare, you know. I don't think the success rate is as frequent as it may seem on YouTube, right? Um, I think it's rare. I think when they talk about how 90+% of traders or whatever fail. I think a lot of times it's around that type of trading. That's just my opinion from my experience. It's around that type of trading, super low time frames, trying to get the perfect entry. I think that's where that failure rate is really, really high. But from people I've seen that has gotten, at least the people that were in my group uh, when I was getting my education, I think that once you learn how to swing trade and learn how to take your risk and divide it by your stop loss and understand your risk to rewards and you let that trade swing, I think the success rate is higher, overall. So that's just my opinion. This is different for everybody, but so that's where we are on the pound dollar, right? We got .net putting in an order after that pull back, right? And so I think it definitely will continue down. It's just a matter of when, right? So that's that on the pound dollar. Any other questions on that? Nope. All right, let's look at the S&P. Then we'll look at this Euro Swissy to close out. Uh, so take a look at the S&P 500. Just long, right? Listen, the market, especially the stock market, it naturally just wants to go up, right? That's the way it's structured. So, and I think ever since the crash in '08, ever since the pandemic, I think once investors, um, and it doesn't seem to matter like who's in office. Let's just face it, if you're an investor, it doesn't. Besides some tax things, it doesn't matter. The United States is always going to be favorable to the capitalists, right? We need to make our markets here favorable for outside investment. So no matter who's in office, if you're in the investor class, if you're a trader, if you're buying real estate, things like that, like you're gonna be all right. You're gonna be all right. Why? Because we're a net import economy, right? And the dollar is propped up by outside investment and things like that. So no matter who's in office, they're always going to make sure that our markets remain attractive to outside investment. So I think we're on the right side of things, being traders. Just my opinion, right? So this is moving long again, like the market just naturally wants to go up, right? The stock market. So when we look at this S&P, we're trying to get a correction at some point, right? But it just continues to move up and up and up. We'll see if we get any type of reaction on the PCE data. But looking at this 4-hour chart, would I like to, even though this is ranging, you see how this is ranging and starting to break out? Right. So depending on the type of trader you are, based on my rules, right, I'm not going to buy that. But here, right, you can see where we're starting to break out of that range and move higher. So we do have a 4-hour high here that we're looking at. But to make a long story short, right, overall bullish. Okay. For me to buy this off this 4-hour, I just would like to see a correction. Right. Let's retrace, right? And then continue long, right? And so just going off of what I said, ever since the pandemic, ever since, the crash of '08, no matter who's in office, they've been willing to undergird and prop up the market. Right. And I think that ever since investors have realized that that's what they're willing to do, you know, with monetary policy and fiscal policy, anytime we seem to get into trouble, they prop it up by printing more money and doing things like that. I think people just continue to buy the dips. Right? They continue to buy the dips. And that's the way it's been, it seems like, for over a decade now, right? People just continue to come in and buy the dips, knowing that if there's any major trouble, somebody's coming to the rescue. Right? So I think we continue to follow that narrative until it proves otherwise. Right? If that makes sense to everybody, yes, no?
Yeah.
No, it makes perfect sense because from a couple of my stockbrokers, I get notification, hey, buy the dip. Buy the dip. It's time to buy the dip. So they encourage it.
Yeah, I think that gave investors it emboldened a lot of investors. Just like, oh, okay, well, we may get a large correction, but they're gonna prop this market up to keep it moving. So we're just gonna keep buying it, right? And then I see here that a D extension was hit, right? Who was that? Donette. Yep, great observation.
It
Look at that.
looks
Look how
really,
that.
it really,
What'd you say?
it looks really good for a sell on all the time frames because the daily D extension, it went back there again. So it's
Hmm.
right back there again. The 1 hour,
Yeah.
it's at a 786.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, look at that, right? So here we got a decent correction, right? Look at that. And then boom, right? Here the market just accelerated. Look at that. We came off, right? That's a sizable correction off that 127, but you didn't get you didn't get the bottom to fall out of it. And then look at what happened, right? So this D extension is hit. And that should be a new high, right? I need to redraw these fit. Will it come up or maybe come up later? Let me see. Nope, it's not giving it to us yet, but that 55.11.86. Yeah. So that should technically, and it'll eventually pop in, but we should be looking at a new fit here, like so. Right. So it just keeps accelerating. Like if it's definitely due for, a correction, but man, look at our stochastic on this daily, right? We put in a low here. See? So let's see what happens with the PCE data. See which way the market wants to go. And right, we've got our high here. Like that.
Benny, how true is the stochastic in terms of, because if we're seeing the technicals line up like that, and then the stochastic is in a buy.
Yeah, it's approaching that. It's approaching that. The daily, it really this is set up off of your daily. So it's it works very, very well on this daily. To me, it's the most accurate on the daily. So, you know, but it's not a timing thing, right? So like here, this push lower, right? It can, sometimes it can stay, below 20. It can stay there for a while, before making that swing and you catch buyers coming into the market. So it can continue to move down, and we see a correction off this level, and then like we always say, like technically there's nothing that'll ever stand in the way of a fundamental occurrence. So if we got a surprise with PCE data, where it came in extremely high, right, that could push this market right down, right? It can
Yep.
push it right down. So yeah, but I like it. Like oftentimes when you see, for example, if you were just playing, and I know we're a little bit over, but I'm going to cover that Euro Swissy too. If you were just playing, for example, here, if you just came to your daily chart, okay, and do it, scroll back to your charts and your pairs and look, and you look at your stochastic aligning with swing lows and swing highs, it's pretty good, right? So you see how it put in this low here, right? And then we moved up. See that? Then we moved up. It's pretty effective, right? Look at your dip here where we came in the market there. Okay. The key on your daily, is just waiting for those swing lows and swing highs to form, right? So you may see this low get put in, but it's like, man, you need to wait. You need to wait a couple days, right? Which if you're putting your stop below that low, right, it's going to widen your stop if you're waiting, but that's okay, right? For that official swing low to form. But look here, right? You see where we parked in that high? You see where that stochastic is? Okay. You see it all throughout your chart. So very, very effective on the daily time frame. Okay. And you can see what it's trying to do here now, right? How that's putting in that, it's put in that low, and it's starting to move higher. All right, pretty cool, right? Hmm. Right. That's something to think about, right? Like I said, that's all we always start you out with a good foundation, support, and resistance, and really gaining the understanding of that. Some of you may get to the point as you get more experience where it's just like, I just want to, like we said it before, I just want to go from level to level. You may not even want to use your fit. You might just want to want to have raw charts, right? And that's how you trade. Right? We teach it all. We teach it all here. So that's the S&P. Let's see what happens at 8:30. We'll close out with this Euro Swissy. You guys had quite a few pairs this morning. That's good. Uh, right. So we are moving up, right? Still moving. See here, right? Look, look how right? See how we parked in that low? You see it, you see how that's moving? Okay. All right. I don't mind, for those of you who may be interested in that, I don't mind setting up my daily charts like this and posting these setups when they occur. All right. Look, okay, you see that? All right. You see how we're parking in? We're hitting a level, pulling up to the parking spot, forming that low. You see? See there? Pretty cool, eh?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So Benny, would you say that with the stochastic, that if it works better on the daily, and I trade the 4 hour, so if we trade the 4 hour to examine the stochastic on the daily as opposed to the 4 hour to make sure the direction is going right?
Yeah, I like to find like so when I'm trading, right? The daily, so the way this is set up, right? Let me see if I can. They're gonna come up. Charge froze on me, everybody. Uh, there we go. Where is um I have to find what I'm looking for. But the so this the category. So what I'm looking for is so when you look at I always start looking at it from the daily, right? And so you look at between 7 to 11 candles from buy zone to sell zone to buy zone, right? So what you really like, if you're trading off that 4, right? You know, you're looking for you're looking for them to align. I like it when I see my daily and my 4 hour stochastic aligned, right? So meaning that if I come to the 4 and I'm just coming into my sell zone, that doesn't mean that into my buy zone, I'm sorry. That doesn't mean that my daily has to be in the exact same position. My daily just has to be moving in that upward direction. You get what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yes.
But so if this, for example, is my daily stochastic right now was right here, right? Coming out of that buy zone. Follow me there? Yes?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So if it was coming out of, that means that this is in my buy zone, right? It's in the process of cycling up. So that's in my buy zone. So it doesn't have to be, below the 20 or at the 20, and then my 4 hour has to be below the 20 or at the 20. I just need to see that this is bullish. That's telling me that my stochastic is bullish. My momentum is bullish. Now, if I come down to the 4 and my stochastic, right, is right here down in my buy zone now, I'm looking to get bullish on that. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah, because it's 7 to 11 candles from each zone, right? Is the way I was taught, is what you want to look for. So think about it. On a daily, that's 7 to 11 days, right? On a 4 hour, we're talking about 4 hour candles, right? So you got what, 6 of those, right? In a day. So you should have, right? You could have, you know, 2 cycles, right? Eventually moving on your 4 hour compared to a 1 cycle on your daily, for example. So I just need to see in my alignment that, okay, my stochastic is in the buy zone. All right, well, I've got my 4 hour chart and it just hit the buy zone. Okay, I'm thinking bullish on this. Like that's my confirmation. Fundamentally, I'm thinking bullish anyway. Now, technically, I'm thinking bullish. So it's when I have, I have a issue, and you typically will get a choppy sideways market when you've got them totally misaligned, right? So if you come down to your time frames and you're like, man, my daily stochastic is in the buy zone, but my 4-hour is just hitting the sell zone, that's usually when you can get a lot of back and forth sideways movement in the market. Does that make sense to everybody? No? Yes, no. Hope
Yeah.
so. Okay. Yeah. So that's how I use it. So that's what I mean. I don't know if you necessarily like that is better, but that's how I look for my alignment to take place, right? And for it to come into key levels, right? So you can see that push up. You can see here, right? We put in a high and we started to come down. You guys see how, and then when you move to the daily, your charts are just a lot cleaner. It's just a lot cleaner, right? You see it better. It's not as, as much price action in regards to so many candles. So you can see the moves better from the daily. Your fib is just telling you we're looking at all these levels of support and resistance, everybody. If I'm bullish on this play, my fib is just going to tell me where that price can ultimately end up and where I might want to ultimately exit for a longer term swing play. Okay. I hope that makes sense, right? But at the end of the day, we always say, right, that the nuts and bolts of the Forex market are support and resistance, swing lows and swing highs, right? That's why you see how effective this is. This is just telling me, like, if I were to run a fib, like for example, on this weekly chart, if I'm running a fib, right, this is telling me that ultimately, right, over the long term, that can end up 101.82, 101.06 is where that can ultimately end up. But you may say, right, I'm taking it to 98.85, right? If I had a swing low form and I want to take it to that level. The swings just tell me how long I could potentially hold that position, right? For example, like here, right? You could have took this from level to level. If I take this off, I can go from level to level and make money, right? Or I can hold that position to the extension. Either way, we're making money, right? This is a huge range and breakout, right? See how that um see how we got the range there and then we broke out from it at that level. But you see all of this price action, but then you go to the daily and you see how clean it is, right? So maybe you become the type of trader to where, okay, I got a stochastic that's aligning, right? Because I'm talking about waves on that lower time frame. This is just raw price action right here. So maybe I want to become the type of trader to where, okay, I got that aligned, two to the left, two to the right, and then I've got two bulls, right? Two bullish candles, no doubt about it, right? I'm just gonna park it below the low, and then you can say, well, I'm gonna go to the next level, or hey, what is this? This is 100 pips. I'm gonna try to ride this thing for 200 pips and give myself a 2 to 1, 1.5 to 1, whatever. Right? However you decide to set that up. Multiple ways to skin a cat. Right? Our job as educators is to give you the strong fundamentals to where you can shape a strong game plan and build a strong game plan behind your education. But it's ultimately going to come down to what you feel comfortable doing. All right. So we've got a bullish, right? Hope that helps. So we've got a bullish Euro Swissy, right? Which is what we projected. We got above that level and we're moving long right now on this Euro Swiss. So we'll see how far it wants to take us. There's that 96.85 low that we were talking about. All right. Do we pull back and continue? Any questions on the Euro Swiss? Lots of great questions. No?
I'm good.
All right. So Ann says, so we need to pay attention to the daily and the 4 hour to be the same for buy or sell. Well, you're using your fundamentals, right? And you're determining from the top down your overall bias on the pair. What we're talking about as far as that stochastic is it's more along the lines of confirmation. Right? It's more along the lines of confirmation. All right. Determining whether you're buying or selling, right, depends on your technical top-down analysis and your fundamental analysis in regards to your direction. All right, that you want to trade it. But confirmation is looking at those swing lows, swing highs in your zone and using your stochastic as an additional confirmation. All right. Hey, that's all I have for today, everybody. It's been a great session, lots of great questions, lots of great pairs that we were able to go over and cover that you all selected. So I think this was a productive session, and I really appreciate all of you being here. You're welcome, Kay. So everybody, enjoy the rest of your Friday. We will be back here tomorrow. So we are having a session tomorrow, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so we can get prepared for the upcoming week. Everybody, have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Benny.